Well, praise the Lord, everyone. Good to see you in Sunday school today. Clock on the wall says it's time to get going. I'm glad that you're here and looking for a great day in the Lord, aren't you? No telling what we'll see today before this day ends. And didn't we have a great Easter Sunday last weekend? I really enjoyed our Easter service. I thought it was just fantastic and enjoy serving the Lord, especially on Easter Sunday. My dad used to get up every Easter Sunday and go to the cemetery there not far from our house, close to where Sister Connie and Sister Wilbanks live, and used to preach his message for the radio program out there in the cemetery about sunrise, and he didn't know anybody was listening to him. Of course, he thought he was totally out there by himself, but he seen Mr. Garvin Phillips one day the next week, and Mr. Garvin said, "Brother Danny, that sure was some good preaching out there in that cemetery." So you never know who's listening to you, but I'm thankful we serve a risen Lord. He's still alive today. He's not lost any of his power. He's just as strong and just as mighty as he ever was, and I'm thankful to be serving a great God. It's good to see all of our visitors today. I would like to give our visitors a great big hand. So glad you're here today. Thank you for coming, and we'll make you our special guest throughout the day. And we'll, if whatever you need, we'll take care of it. Make sure that you enjoy yourself and want to come back and visit us again. We like first-time visitors, we like second-time visitors, and third-time visitors are us. They're just one of us after the third time. So let's all stand this morning. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. We've got some requests that we'd like to remember today. Sister Helen Sellers, not with us today so far, so let's remember her in our prayers. Kermit Cantrell, Brother Chad Austin's brother Ryan Austin, let's remember him in our prayers. Brother Bishop, which is the pastor of Victory Church in New Albany, Mississippi, remember him. Allie Edwards in a bad wreck. She has got to come home since then, so let's continue to hold her up in our prayers. Good to see Brother Ricky Butler back with us today, feeling lots better, I hope, and keep him on our prayer list. Ashley Privet family, remember them. Brooks Pratt needs a touch from the Lord. Most of you know Blake Kane that was here. I think he was here Wednesday night. They lost a child during this past week or so, couple of weeks, and let's hold that family up in our prayers. They're going through a lot of situations, so let's remember them in our prayers. Couldn't begin to even sympathize with somebody that's lost a child. Brother Rogers, I know, lost a child, and I've talked to him before about it, and he said, it's one of the worst things that could ever happen to you, and I'm sure it is. So let's hold them up in our prayers. Anyone else have a prayer request? Good to see you back, Brother Haley. Anyone else have a prayer request, Sister Barbie? All right, let's keep her in our prayers. Anyone else? Let's remember our service. I want us to have a great day in the Lord, and I know He's got it for us here, and we're looking forward to it, but I want us to be in the will of God and just have everything the Lord would have us to have today. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Brother Rogers, lead us, please. All right, you can be seated, and we'll ask the ushers to come on and get our Sunday school offering this morning. We went to sing last night at Coleman, Alabama, and had a great time in the Lord, and got back about, sometime early this morning, and some of those young guys, I seen them come in wiping their eyes this morning. That we had a bus load that went with us last night. We just had a great time in the Lord, and some of those young guys wasn't used to that. Some of us old heads, it don't take a lot for us, and we just kind of keep on going. And keep on doing. But we sure had a great time. But I'm glad to be back in service today, and looking forward to a great day in the Lord. I hope I've got something that'll interest you today. I realize that our lights are turned down low, and it'll be awful easy for you to drift off to sleep while the lights are down low. But I've assigned Brother Ricky Butler to throw something at you from that side, and I'm going to assign Brother Gary Sellers to throw something from this side if he were to see you nodding off today. But we have got the lights kind of turned down to emphasize our cross, and didn't Brother Chad Austin do a fantastic job on this? It's just unbelievable. Looking at Brother Chad, you wouldn't think he's that smart, would you? But really, he can do anything, and that's just amazing. And it's got a blue light turned on it, and if you want to get a picture with it after church, it's made some very good pictures over this past week. I've seen several posted. So thanks to Brother Chad for doing that for us. And it's up for at least this Sunday. I think Brother Levi may use it when he's preaching. But as you go travel around today to different restaurants and, any place of business, just about it, there's one sign that you always notice nowadays that you didn't notice or used to notice as much as you do now. That is help wanted. Help wanted. Everywhere you go, somebody's needing some help. Cannot find any workers in our workforce. I've never seen it like this. Now, I've seen jobs before and people having jobs, and I've seen people that couldn't find jobs. But if you want a job right now, you can find a job. It might not be what you want to do, but you can find a job. You can get a paycheck or at least get some money in your pocket. And but we just have a real lack of workers in today's labor force, and several things that cause this, I believe. And this is just my opinion, of course. But part of it was this COVID scare pandemic, partially, I think, brought on by the federal government for unknown reasons or maybe known reasons. But I think this caused of course, it caused our shutdown, for a long time, and a lot of places went out of business. A lot of people got comfortable working at home, and a lot of people just got lazy and just decided to stay home after that. And it's hard to, we've got America now convinced that if you'll lay at the house and let somebody else take care of you, it's better than going to work. We've never had that problem in the United States up until the last few years. Free money is better than working money, evidently, but that's what a lot of people think. But never before have I seen so many people or businesses needing people to go to work. They're even offering sign-on bonuses up to $2,000-$3,000. I seen one place that offered $10,000 sign-on bonus after you'd been there for a year, $10,000, and they're needing work. Another thing that I think has caused this is probably the generation that we have raised that are lazy. It's a generation of convenience, push button. I want this now. I want what you got. I want what I got, and I want what you got too. That's kind of the generation that we live in. Now, I've taught my kids when they was growing up. Of course, my kids are grown now, but I taught them growing up, don't you depend on others to support you. If you want something, you get out there and work for it and start saving for it and get what you want. If you get a better opportunity, take a better opportunity. But work. If you get a chance to work an extra hour or two in the daytime, don't go home and sit down and lay down. If you can make another $50 a week, make it by working another hour or two. There's nothing wrong with that. And both of my girls work hard. Marcy, of course, she flies all kind of hours and all over the United States and from daylight to dark, and a lot of time after dark flying. And some days she'll go to the airport and sit 4 hours waiting on a flight that's delayed, and then work her 8 or 10 normal hours, and then try to get to the motel, which winds up to about 12 or 14 hours a day. And, of course, Beth Ann's the same way. She works for Dr. Ritter, and any extra hours he ever offers her, she's taking them. She's going to work. And I raised my girls to do that. I taught them to give your employer more than what he asked for. Now, that's another missing product that we have got in our society today. I told the girls, I said, if your employer requires you to be at work at 8 o'clock, get there at 15 to 8. Don't get there 5 minutes after 8. You think I didn't preach that to them? I preached that to them. Don't you be late. Don't just be late because you're lazy and can't get up of a morning. Set your clock for 15 minutes early and get to work on time. Here's another thing I told them. This ain't in Scripture, but this is good stuff. And I ain't even going to charge you for this. Here's another thing I told them. Don't go in 5 minutes after 8 if you're supposed to be there at 8 o'clock and spread gravy and biscuit and eggs out on your desk and sit there for 30 minutes and eat breakfast. You're on the employer's time. You're eating on his time. If you got to have something to eat, if you got to have breakfast of a morning, get up and get your breakfast at 8 before you get there. And get there 15 minutes early. Beth Ann usually got to Dr. Ritter's office in Saltillo by 7:30, and she didn't go to work till 8, and she drove from Corinth. And then some of the rest of those people there, hope they're not watching, would get there 5 minutes late and not live but 10 minutes from the office. That's a bad habit, folks. That's a character flaw. I've told you before, my time is just about as important as your time is. And if you don't value that, then that's a character flaw in you. Well, that didn't get no amen, so we'll go on. Let me tell you, when I was growing up, my parents vowed that they were not going to raise any lazy kids. My mama said it over and over and over and over. I'm not raising a bunch of lazy kids now. Y'all going to get up and do your business and do your chores. We had breakfast every morning, and if we was late for school, that wasn't Mama's fault. She woke us up early. She had breakfast ready for us when we woke up. She expected us to be on the bus that run at 7 o'clock. And this is what they said. If you miss the bus, don't expect me to carry you to school. You're gonna get counted late. You're gonna get counted tardy. And if you have to sit in detention because of it, that's your fault. That wasn't my fault. I came in there and woke you up. I fixed your breakfast. You knew what time the bus was coming. That's not harsh, folks. That is making your kids responsible. When we got up of a morning, Mama used to come in there, and the first thing she done is flipped on the light. All of you know, if you're in a dead sleep, you don't like a light being flipped on right in your eyes. That's the first thing that happened. Flip the light switch on. And she said, "Get up, kids. It's time to get up and go to school. I've got breakfast waiting for you on the table." And then she would start singing this little song, "Get up, you lazy cowboys. It's time to start another day." I hated that song. I hated that song with a passion. She sung that song every morning and left the light on. Breakfast was sitting on the table. We already had our clothes laid out for school before we got up the next morning. We was ready to go to school. And then we got on the bus, and before we got on the bus, she said, "Now, when you get home this evening, get your homework. Get your homework first. Get that out of the way." She didn't say take a nap. That nap was never mentioned for some reason or another. I assumed we weren't supposed to take one since it wasn't ever mentioned. But she'd write out a list, and she said, "This is going to be your chores when you get home this afternoon. Keith, you need to get the lawnmower cranked. There's gas in the shop. Get the lawnmower cranked. Get the yard cut." See, Mom and Daddy both was working, trying to make us trying to feed us. She said, "When you got through mowing the yard, you need to weed eat. Get out and weed eat." We didn't have no weed eater. You know what we had? A pair of pruning shears. I sat down in the yard and go all the way around the house with them pruning shears, cutting the grass. Then after you get your chores done, you can go out and play. Get your homework done, get your chores done. Rhonda had her chores. Greg had his chores. Kendall had his chores. It wasn't an option when they come in that afternoon that the chores not be done. That wasn't even on the table. We didn't even consider that. We knew we had to get the chores done when we come. If they were to come home and we had went outside and hadn't done our homework and hadn't done our chores and was outside ripping and romping, it wouldn't have been good. We had a garden. We put out a garden every year and put a good bit of stuff up in the freezer. And I can remember a lot of mornings where I got up and dug potatoes before I ever went to school. I picked beans before we ever went to school. Picked them after we got home from school. Things that were expected from us. I sold grit papers when I was 12, 10, 11, 12 years old and saved my quarters to buy me a bicycle. I didn't ask Daddy to buy a bicycle. I know what a bicycle costs. Start saving your quarters, and that's what I done until I finally bought my first bicycle. But we have a generation now, 50 years later, that wants to be where you start out, where you at right now, Brother Gary Sellers. They don't want to put in the 40 years that you've put in or the 50 years you put in and the early mornings and the late afternoons and night work and everything you've done to get to where you're at. I want to start right now, right where you at. And if you ask them why, they say, well, because Mom and Daddy's got it. I'm supposed to have it too. We've got a generation that feels like that they are entitled to things. This should be mine. That's what they feel like. I got to have the latest iPhone, the latest iPad, and most of the kids do, and most of the reason they get those is because parents don't want to take their time to discipline their kids. They just want to use it for this, entertain them for a little while. I told you now this is free stuff. It ain't. I mean, this is one of them things you can just throw out the window if you don't like it. It's not even in the Word of God. But I'm just telling you that we substitute entertainment for our kids instead of teaching them responsibility and work ethic. And now we've got a generation that won't go to work, and employers are all around this country looking for people to work, and there's nobody there. Well, we've got that lecture through, so let me tell you, my daddy never bought me my first car. First car I bought was a 1976 Cutlass Oldsmobile. I had started to work at Gateway Handle Mill, unloading box cars. I lost 40 pounds in one summer. They would work you, bud. And you get inside them box cars, and there's about 120 degrees, and you're stacking handles and no wind or nothing in there. You'd lose weight. Tammy'd bring me a bag. I ain't talking about a sandwich. She'd bring me a bag of peanut butter sandwiches stacked out to the top, nearly 4 or 5. I'd eat every one of them things and still losing weight. But we worked, and I saved up a little bit of money, saved up a little bit here until I had saved up about $2,000. Well, the car was $2,500. And you would think Daddy would have said, well, I got your other $500 here. Just go ahead and get the car. But he said, I'm going to loan you this $500. You take your $2,000, and I'm going to loan you this $500, but I've got to have this money back. So this little glass is sitting right here in the windowsill. You put $25 a week back in there until you get the $500 back. And that's what I done until I bought my first car. This did not just start now. Even back in Jesus' day, Jesus was healing the multitudes. The multitudes had surrounded him. And he looked at the disciples as if to say, can I get a little help around here? He said, the fields are white unto harvest, but the laborers are few. They're not out there. Another place Jesus said, don't say there's 4 months until the harvest comes. Look, hey, if you want to go to work for God, help is wanted. Help is needed. If you want to work for the Lord, you can find something to do. Help is needed. Everywhere we look, help wanted, help wanted. I even saw a sign the other day that said, emergency, help wanted. Emergency, they're in desperate need. Now listen to me this morning. If you're waiting on someone now to do something for you nowadays, you probably just want to go ahead and do it yourself. First of all, if the ones that's working are so busy they can't get everything done, and you can't get nobody else to do nothing. They'll promise you they're going to be there, but they won't never show up. Won't even call most of the time. So here we go. Let me talk to you about our lesson today. I want to talk to you about help wanted, a very present help. Help wanted, a very present help. See, when man goes as far as he can go, it's just getting just perfect for God to step in. The situation is getting perfect for it. And I've seen times when it looked like that there was no way out. And I bet you have too. There was no way out, and man couldn't fix it if he wanted to. And God step in and make a way. A very present help. Now, I'm going to tell you some times in my life that I have been just had to totally rely on God. I didn't have any other choice. If I could have fixed it, I'd already fixed it. But he's never failed me yet. And he'll do to go to. Situations that were out of control when there was nowhere to turn, and God fix it. We're going to sing a song this morning about God turning it around during our regular service, and he can turn it around. We have a company now. Most of you know what I do, but we have a company now with probably some 80, I don't know how many employees we've got, 85, I think, somewhere around there. And it's a big wheel. And I used to make a decision that affected me and my family. And those decisions were kind of easy to make. You could make those pretty quick because you only had a couple of people to consider, 3 or 4 people to consider at the most. But when you got 80 to 85 families, when you make a decision, you know what I find myself doing a lot of times? Lord, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to make this decision. I don't know which way is going to be the best way to go. Just one little wave can rock a big boat. It can move a big boat. And a lot of times I've just asked God for direction. Lord, I don't know what to do, but I'll lean on you, and you instruct me in the ways I should go. Now let's read our text today, and I'll tell you up front it's a little bit lengthy, but it's not too bad, 11 verses, but it's good stuff. Aren't you thankful of the Word of God, how precious the Word of God is to you? If you would like to know how to do anything in your life, you can find it from Genesis to Revelations. Somebody's been through that situation, or that situation has been addressed already. If you'll just look. If you want to learn how to run a business, read the book of Proverbs. It tells you everything you need right there in the book of Proverbs about how to operate and run an effective business. So let's start off in Psalms 46 chapter. And it starts off kind of odd. The reading here don't have the little quotation marks where it starts. So I'm going to tell you what it says. It says, to the chief musician for the sons of Korah, a song upon Alamoth, Alamoth. I don't know if you remember Korah, but this was the grandson of Kohath, which caused the rebellion against Moses back in the Old Testament. And if you'll remember how the ground opened up and swallowed Kohath and those hundreds of people that day because they rebelled against Moses. Well, this is to his grandson. This Psalms is wrote to his grandson. Now, if you'll look in your Bible, it'll probably tell you that. Evidently, his grandson growed up to be an accomplished musician because he was a chief musician, is what this Bible says. To the chief musicians who this is wrote to. And then does anybody know what Alamoth means? Alamoth? I didn't think you would. I didn't either. I had to look it up. Alamoth means that it is wrote for a soprano singer. The psalm was meant for a soprano singer or a high singing female to sing the psalms in Psalms 46. So now we've got this. It's to the chief musician for the sopranos. They're supposed to sing this. And here's what it says. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. My mind wonders sometime, and right now it wonders why it says a very present help instead of a present help or just a help. Why does it say a very present help in time of trouble? Present help would seem like it would have been just as effective or even help. But here's the synonyms for very present. This is what very present means: acutely aware of the situation. Acutely aware of the situation. Very prevalent, strong presence, very conscious, very current, and very mindful. That's the reason he says he is a very present help in time of need or in time of trouble. God is aware of where we are. He hasn't been surprised by anything. It may seem like your prayer is hitting the wall, but God is very aware of it. And He's perfect for any situation that we need or any help we need. Now, there's another word. I know I'm not reading very fast here, but I want to explain what part of this Psalms means, Psalms 46. There's another word that you'll see 3 times in Psalms 46. And it comes after several verses, and the word is Selah, S-E-L-A-H. Some of you that are Bible readers will remember seeing this appear in Psalms on a regular basis, S-E-L-A-H. This appears at the end of the 3rd verse of 46. It appears at the end of the 7th verse and then at the end of the last verse. I always wondered what this word meant. I've heard a lot of opinions on it. But I knew it had to be a reason. It was not inserted for just no reason. Why would he just throw a word in there? We don't have a clue what it means. Here's what it means. Psalms was written by a musician and a singer, David. And Psalms are actually songs that are written. We get a lot of our hymns from the words in Psalms. But that's actually what Psalms is music that was written to a tune. Selah, S-E-L-A-H, means to pause. And you that play music will know about the quotations and things. When you're reading music, there's a quotation for pause or hold steady. There's a little quotation for that. That's what this word means. It means to pause. Basically, what it is saying is pause and let this sink in, what I just sung to you or what I just told you. Wait for a minute, think about what I've just told you, and let this sink in. And Selah is mentioned 3 times. First time is mentioned after a time of physical catastrophe. Second time is mentioned after the threat of warfare. The third time it comes after we read about the uncertain future or a situation that is uncertain. So now I've told you this. Let's read again the first verse. And it's to the chief musician for the sons of Korah, a song of Alamoth. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore, because of this, therefore, will not we fear, though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea. This is a pretty violent situation. I think we read this sometimes and don't realize what this is saying. Verse 3 says, though the water thereof roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with the swelling thereof, Selah. It's telling you to pause and think about what I've just said. God is a very present help in time of trouble or in time of need. Though the earth be removed or shaken, though the mountains be shaken and thrown into the sea, He is our refuge and our strength. Now you could read this thing in reverse, and it would read, though the earth be removed and the mountains carried into the sea, we will not fear, for God is our refuge and our strength, a very present help in time of trouble. A very present help. The first 3 verses would be what we would term as a natural disaster, the mountains falling, the sea, the oceans roaring, the winds blowing. But David said that we have our trust in God that never fails, one that knows where we're at all time. He's not bothered by situations. He's not ruled by the federal government. He's not stimulated by pandemics. He's not in fear because of a pandemic, but He knows right where we're at. He's a very present help in time of trouble. Verse 4 said, there is a river, the streams whereof make glad the city of God, the holy place of the tabernacles of the Most High. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God shall help her, and that right early. The heathen rage, the kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice, the earth melted. Al Gore must be right. This looks like major global warming to me. When the earth melts because of God just uttering his voice, in other words, he can just grunt, and everything that we know right now would be gone. The earth would be melted away. Verse 7 said, the Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge, Selah. Think about what I've just told you once again. The God of Jacob. Now, I wonder why he said the God of Jacob. Here I go wondering again, but that makes me wonder why he didn't say the God of Abraham or the God of Isaac. Why did he pick God of Jacob? How do we remember Jacob? Mostly we remember him as a deceiver and a scandler and a swindler. Old Scudder. Old Scudder, Brother Rogers, what we would call him, a deceiver. Here's the thing about it, is God is not deterred by people's background. You can be a deceiver and a liar and a cheat, and God can save you from every bit of that. That's what David knew. David had been in trouble himself. And the Bible tells us about Jacob wrestling with an angel all night. Now, this is my opinion on wrestling with that angel. This is my opinion once again. I think that Jacob, when he was wrestling with an angel, was trying to overcome his past that was in him. Because he had deceived so many people. He had cheated so many people. He had stolen his brother's birthright. He was on the run from his brother, and the army was coming to get him. And then he went and married 2 ladies of Laban's house and just about swindled every cattle and goat that Laban had. And then God met him in the way when he was going to meet Esau. Esau was full of vengeance. He was there to kill him. And there wrestled Jacob with a man all night. I don't think he was physically wrestling with him so much as Jacob was trying to get past his past. He knew that guilt was all over him. Everything that he had ever done, he had got it in a bad way. In an underhanded way, he had achieved everything that he achieved. That's the reason I think David said that God is our refuge in time of strength, and we're looking to the God of Jacob, the one that can forgive us of our past. No matter what's happened in our past, God can take care of it. David was just like me and you. He had a past, but God is our refuge. Now let's get verse 8. Come, behold the works of the Lord, what desolations he made in the earth. He maketh wars to cease unto the end of the earth. He breaketh the bow, and he cutteth the spear in sunder. He burneth the chariot in the fire. Well, this is a good verse right here. Be still. You know, that's a lot of our problems sometimes. We want to be still. Another problem is we won't shut up. A lot of times we can't hear what God is saying because we're yakking ourselves. We're just like my little house dog I got. If something moves out of place, he bark his head off. He might be 8 pounds total. He wouldn't be big enough to hurt anything. But he'll yap and yap and yap. You know, that's the way we are to God a lot of times. We become yappers. That's about what it is. We will talk too much, and we're so antsy about everything. The verse says, be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. Here it says again, the God of Jacob is our refuge, Selah. Pause and think about what that says. He makes the wars to cease, even breaks the bows. I believe it was Isaiah said, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and their righteousness of me, saith the Lord. The third Selah comes after we read of an uncertain future, but let it be known that God is our strength and our refuge. Now take time and dwell on this, is what Selah means. Let me just ask you this. Has God ever come through for you in a hard time? Has he been faithful to you? Has there been situations arise in your life where you was not able to figure out what it should be or where you should go? And God has showed up in a miraculous way. He is our refuge and our strength in time of trouble and in time of need. I used to travel a lot more than I do now, believe that or not, but I used to travel a whole lot. I had 13 offices. I was running for a company, and my base office was in Tupelo, Mississippi, so I had to go to Tupelo before I ever started. And we got to spend one day in our base office, which was on a Monday, and that would map out kind of our week on where we were traveling to from there. And I had some offices that's 5 hours one way to get to them. And so every Tuesday, I'd always go to Tupelo, usually on Monday. Every Tuesday through Friday, I was usually on the road, traveling to those different offices. Most of the time, I made it back on Wednesday night for church because I purposely left early enough to get back. I had a good motel room paid for, and all my meals paid for. Sure would have been a good time to lay up. I hate when people tell me they're too tired to come to church. I would never show up if I waited till I wasn't tired. That didn't cost nothing either. This month in particular, I had a hard traveling month. I mean, we had traveled and went everywhere. And then on a Friday, my supervisor called me and said, "Keith, we got to be in Atlanta Monday morning." I said, "Okay." And he said, "We'll fly out Monday morning, and we've got to meet with some of the big bosses." And he says, "You've got 13 offices, so we need reports on all 13 offices. We need to know your employees. We need to know their weaknesses, what their strengths are. You know what your growth goals are, your profit goals are for this time of the year. So you'll need to report to them how much your growth is. If you're behind plan, what you plan on getting on plan. If you're behind on profit, what you planning on doing, what's your game plan, what's your goal to get back on profit plan." And he said, "We got to be over there Monday morning." He said, "I'll email you your flight arrangements and through email." I said, "Okay, I'll see you Monday in Atlanta." Well, when I got my flight information, I was flying out of Memphis at 6:45 on Monday. Well, it just so happened we had a singing on Saturday night like we did last night. And we got in late, and I don't remember what time it was, but we was having Sunday morning and Sunday night service at that time. And we were getting here 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock for choir practice. And, it was Monday night. Sunday night, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Sunday evening, until Sunday night came, and I was wore out. But I had to get up around 2:30 because I had to get to Memphis to catch the flight at 6:45. And I was tired. I don't even admit I'm tired most of the time. But I was wore out. I'd just about gone my limit. It was a cold morning when I left out that morning, and I'd rolled the windows down, and I don't know if y'all have ever been sleeping, done this, Chad, as he's shaking his head. Roll your windows down, try to get some air in to try to keep you awake. And I'd turn the radio up loud, so it would blare real loud, and even music I didn't like, that's what I had on. I hated that kind of music, but that's something to keep me awake, hopefully. But everything I could do, man, I was so sleepy I could not hardly hold my head up. And I knew I was sleepy, and I knew it was dangerous. I knew I was in a bad spot. And I tried everything. I even got out of the car and walked around the car a couple of times, tried to get awake, get back in. But as soon as you got back in that warm car, man, sat in that good seat, it was you just had to fight. I had to fight it just to keep my eyes open, and I knew I was dangerous. I knew I shouldn't be on the road. But I got just past Holly Springs, and I nodded off. I caught myself with my eyes closed, and I went off the side of the road into the media. and I come back on the road when I jarred awake and woke back up. And when I came back on the road, right in the middle of 72 highway, 4-lane highway, there was this white figure with it looked like white clothes on, bright, looked like he had a huge flashlight in his hand. And he was just like this right here in the middle of the 72 highway. And man, I braced for it because I knew, I said, whatever this is, I'm fixing to go through it, because I was running 65 miles, 70 miles an hour. And when I got to it, it just, and it was gone. And I looked in my rear view mirror, it was dark, there was no car behind me, and I said, I didn't feel myself hit nothing. So I turned around. I was wide awake now. You didn't have to worry about that. I was wide awake. I wasn't going back to sleep. But I turned around, found a little turnaround spot, and went back up, and I said, I'm going to make sure I didn't hit something or what that was in the road. Wasn't nothing there. Drove right back and drove on to Memphis, and I wasn't sleepy no more. But then I got to thinking, when the angel visited Peter, he woke him up and said, Peter, wake up and get your shoes on. It's time to leave. That is exactly what happened to me that morning. The Lord put an angel in my path to wake me up. It was a big figure. I don't know. I couldn't tell you it was an angel, but it was white. And it was just like a flashlight was shining through my windshield when I went back. And I just knew I had impacted it and was going to hit it. But the Lord is a very present help in time of trouble and in time of need. Let me tell you one more quick story. I'm going to be out of time this morning. This is a good lesson. I just didn't get it all covered. I may have told you this before. I had opened the office back in 2005 or 6, 2005 or 6, and I don't remember which. And then I had opened Batesville office a couple of months, a year after that, actually. And I had operated that way for 10 years, and it was going fine, didn't have any problems. I mean, no more problems than normal business people do. Wake up at daylight and go to sleep at midnight and worry about how you're going to pay your bills and wonder how you're going to pay this and how you're going to do this. That's normal business. That's part of it. But long story short, Chris called me one day and wanted to, this is my partner now in some more offices, and he said that I've got some investors and I'd like to open up some offices. And at first, I told you this story before. First, I told him, I said, I'm not interested, Chris. I'd known him for a long time. But I said, I'll tell you what I done to get open so you can do that yourself. And I'll help you out. Well, he called back a couple of weeks. He said, I want you to be my partner. I said, man, I've got all I want to do. You know, I'm on my downhill slope. And I'm getting the fish when I want to now and all that kind of stuff. And he said, well, think about it. So I started thinking about it and prayed about it and came to church that night. And Brother Holdren preached on Jonathan and his armor bearer going out to fight a fight. And Jonathan turned around to his armor bearer and said, can I get a little help? And Jonathan's armor bearer said, don't worry about it. You do what's in your heart. I'll be right there. And Brother Holdren looked at me right here. And he said, Keith, do what's in your heart. The Lord is going to be with you. He's going to be right there with you. So I went home and told Tammy, I said, we're fixing to go in business, more business. And we opened up 5 offices at one time. This was an unheard of thing. We took the manager and the assistant manager out of 5 different offices of one company, and they all faxed in their resignation November the 1st. And I was in South Dakota, and I wasn't answering my phone because I knew what was coming. They turned in their 2-week notice. Chris and I had been preparing all up to this, trying to keep all this secret and on the table till we got ready to go, because we knew we was fixing to put 10 people on payroll just like that. That's what happened. We opened 5 offices, and they jumped out wide open. I mean, just wide open. And it didn't take long till we realized that money was going to be short pretty quick. If you're loaning out $100, that's one thing. But when you're loaning out $15,000, $20,000, and $30,000 and $40,000 a day times 5, you got to have some money from somewhere. Well, we had our credit line, but we was always already just about up against what we could borrow already. We wasn't but 2 or 3 months open, and the thing was rolling, but it was rolling so fast we couldn't keep up with it, and then that was a problem. But we had adopted 2 Bible verses when we opened up for business, and it was Philippians 4, 6, and 7. It says, "Be careful for nothing, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be known unto God. And the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Jesus Christ." That's the 2 verses that we adopted. It was on every email we sent. It was on every letterhead that we sent. It's still on all of our emails that are sent, on all of our letterhead. That's those 2 verses. That's the ones we done before we ever opened the company. We adopted those verses as our motto. That's what we were going to do. We were about 3 or 4 months in, and Chris called me one morning and said, "Well, how's it going this morning?" I said, "Well, it's going good." He said, "Well, I've had to run to the doctor for a little checkup." And he said, "Have you looked at our bookworks?" He said, we're bumping right up against our credit line, what we've qualified to loan out." He said, "We're right up against it, and we're fixing to have some more money." And I said, "Chris, son, I hocked everything I had when first time you called me. There ain't nothing left on the table. You know, we've done invested everything we've got, and had some investors and had a bank credit line." And he said, "Well, we need another investor or two." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I don't know of anybody around that I could talk to about it just right quick, you know." And I said, "What do you know?" And he said, I don't really know who to call either." And he said, "I'll tell you what." He said, "I'm sitting in the waiting room in a doctor's office." He said, "Let's just pray about this." So we did. Over the phone. We prayed, him sitting in a doctor's office. He hung up and he said, "I'll call you back after I get out of the doctor's office." 10:30 in the morning, he called back and he said, "Keith, do you know Jimmy Perry?" I said, "No, sir. I don't think I know him." He said, "Well, he just called me on my cell phone out of the blue." And really? What's he wanting? Or who is he? He's an investor. He is? Yeah. Said he lives in North Carolina. I said, "How in the world did he hear about us?" He said, I don't know how he heard about us. He just called me and said that he had heard we had a company going and he would like to invest some money." I thought, 5,000, 10,000. What are we talking about here, Chris? That wasn't going to get us very far. I said, "Did he tell you how much you wanted to invest?" I was drawed up about that because I didn't know what that was going to be. He said he's going to start with 400,000. Start with 400,000. A man that we had never heard of before. I'm talking about a God that is a very present help in time of need or in time of trouble. We went to North Carolina to meet this gentleman within 2 weeks. He told us of a little restaurant to meet him at, and he said, "It's right outside of where I live, so meet me there, and I'll have you check for you. I'll have your money for you." We talked to him 2 or 3 times. We got to the restaurant, and we walked in, and we got there before he got there. This is in North Carolina. Posted on a poster, a big poster, on the side of the restaurant, Philippians 4, 6, and 7, "Be careful for nothing, but in everything, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be known unto God." Those same 2 scriptures that we had adopted for our scriptures was posted inside that restaurant in big bold letters when we walked in. Let me tell you, God is a very present help in time of trouble or in time of need. He will do to depend on, folks. Now, I know I'm out of time today, but God has been good to me, and he's been good to you. And if you would like to try him out, the Bible says, "Prove me." Just go ahead and prove me and see if I will not open blessings for you that you cannot contain. God is our refuge and our strength, a very present help in time of trouble and in time of need. Let's give the Lord a big hand today. Sorry I didn't get to finish that. Maybe we'll come back to it at a later point. If you'd like to read Psalms 47, that's a good chapter. Let me make a quick mention of just a few things. If you ordered a T-shirt, for our Easter egg hunt, I don't think it's got Easter egg hunt on it, does it? I think it just says something about Gospel Tabernacle. Maybe a little phrase on there. But if you ordered a T-shirt for the Easter egg hunt and you haven't picked it up, it's down in the fellowship hall in a sack with your name on it. And go down there and get that after church. April Hearts to Hands is sweet peas and peanut butter. Peanut butter, boy, that's something I was raised on right there.